promise I'll let you down.
Yeah.
One more shot, one more round. Don't step on my rose petals. Don't step on my rose petals. Don't step on my rose petals. Don't step on my rose. Don't step on my rose. Step on my rose. Step on my rose.
It says turn off original sound, right? Okay, I was just making sure. Oh God, I didn't know the mic was open.
Baby, was that my mistake? Covering these feelings, going through changes. I'm just so mad right now, I can't even think straight. So I'ma just
Tweet it and delete it.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Good morning, people.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth.
Oh, and not care who doesn't like it.
We just.
It was kind of off.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. We missed it. We're gonna have to wait until we're in person to actually pull this off the way we actually wanted. How's everybody doing this morning? How y'all feeling this morning?
Good.
Pretty good. Can't complain. You know,
Good.
interesting
Good.
night, but it was good. It's cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
sounds like there's a story there, James.
No story.
A story for another. Is that a story for another time?
Another time, another place.
Another time, another place, another.
Vaccinated fun?
Hey, people get vaccinated and don't know how to act. I tell you that much. But no, I
none. Be reckless out here.
Whatever. You got both shots already?
I still got to get my other one. I need to actually see if I can set up the appointment for my second one now.
Man, make sure you get that second one, man, so you can get the full coverage. I know the first one they're saying, and speaking, I mean, I guess this is as good a place as any to jump into the first story, because the first shot is extremely effective, even though it's not as effective as getting two shots. And because we have such a tight schedule this morning, I want to jump right into the news about COVID. Michael Osterholm, the director of the Center for Infectious Diseases Research and Policy, appeared on Meet the Press on Sunday with Chuck Todd to discuss the recent surge of COVID-19 cases. In a separate interview, Osterholm stated, quote, he believes that in some ways we're almost in a new pandemic. Let's take a listen to him on Meet the Press.
Dr. Osterholm, the last time you were on, the metaphor was we were in the eye of the hurricane, that basically things were felt rosy, and you said, hey, this is going to get worse. Well, do you believe we're in the midst of this fourth surge, and are we still sitting on a Category 5, or do you think this is a manageable fourth surge?
Well, thank you, Chuck, for having me again. And first of all, let me say that at this time, we really are in a Category 5 hurricane status with regard to the rest of the world. At this point, we will see in the next 2 weeks the highest number of cases reported globally since the beginning of the pandemic. In terms of the United States, we're just at the beginning of this surge. We haven't even really begun to see it yet. We have had, over the course of the past year, surges of cases that occur in the upper Midwest and the Northeast, and they subside. Then we see big increases in cases through all the southern Sun Belt states. Then it subsides. sides in the Northeast and Midwest come back again. And we're now, I think, in that cycle where the upper Midwest is just now beginning to start this fourth surge. And I think it was a wake-up call to everyone yesterday when Michigan reported out 8,400 new cases, and we're now seeing increasing number of severe illnesses, ICU hospitalizations, in individuals who are between 30 and 50 years of age who have not been vaccinated.
Wow. Osterholm also said, quote, the only good news is that the current vaccines are effective against this particular variant, B117, referring to a British variant of COVID-19. In addition to this variant being known to be more contagious and more deadly, Osterholm said that it is more likely to affect children, an age group that throughout the pandemic had been largely unaffected by COVID-19. He said, quote, I believe that in some ways we're almost in a new pandemic. Meanwhile, in Texas, good old Texas, the Texas Rangers became the first sports team in the United States to reopen their stadium at 100% capacity.
That is
100% capacity since the pandemic began. And so now Rebecca and James, we're dealing with a new strain of COVID-19, uptick in the spread, even though we have a lot of people being vaccinated and the vaccines are highly effective, which is great news. There's still millions upon millions of people who have not gotten the vaccine and they're still getting sick. And there's some people who got the vaccine and they went out before it was able to kick in 2 weeks later. And so this is like we're almost out, but I don't know, man. Like these states, it's not. I don't just blame the people. We have to take individual responsibility. It's also the fact that the governor of Texas was actually at that game. I believe he threw out the first pitch, and it's just it's a level of absurdity that's going on, and we're going to see this spread even more quickly because of that level of stupidity. So that's where we are.
The mayor actually pulled out. He was not satisfied, or he was displeased with the MLB for deciding to withdraw from Atlanta.
That's right.
So he decided that he did not throw out the first pitch. But
thank you for But he was about to be there.
Yeah, he was about to be there. But that's crazy, y'all. I don't think people realize and understand just because you got the vaccination doesn't put you out the woods. Don't get it twisted, because you can still get it. You can still spread it. This vaccination is just like, I'll put it like this. It's just like the flu shot. How your ass can still get the flu, you can still get goddamn COVID.
And that's the thing, especially in that period between, like, it takes 2 weeks for the vaccine to become highly effective. And a lot of people get the shot and they go right out. Right. And that's the thing, like you literally need to give the vaccine 2 weeks. And this is why and there's not a whole lot of cases of this, which is the good news. Right. There's not a whole lot of cases of people who got the vaccine and are catching COVID-19. There's a small group of people who got the vaccine, and because they did not wait, they got COVID-19. But even more importantly than that, it's all the people who are not getting the vaccine. There's some 7 million people who are estimated to not be able to get, or not going to get, the vaccine because they're not even aware that the vaccines are free to them. Right. So there's a level of misinformation, disinformation, and a level of just sheer stupidity that's still coming. I mean, look at that stadium yesterday. You can guarantee that not every person in that stadium was vaccinated. And so even the ones that are vaccinated, while they may be protected, there are going to be thousands of people who are potentially affected by COVID-19 because of this level of stupidity. So, get the vaccine. Absolutely. It's absolutely effective. But if you don't give it the time that it takes for it to become effective in your body, you're right, James. I mean, it's you're not above. You could still get it. One of the good news. Here, one last good news. I'm sorry, Rebecca. The good news is that it is not the data that's coming out is showing that if you have the vaccine and it has taken root in your system, that you so far the data is showing that you are not likely to spread it. So that's the good side of this. The scary side is that because it has gone and it's spread uncontrollably in this country, these variants are really questionable. Like, we really have to take every variant by variant to see how effective the vaccine is for that variant. And so far, so good, but that doesn't mean it's always going to be the case. So there's, when I'm not saying people should cancel their summer plans if they're fully vaccinated, what I'm saying is get fully vaccinated and give it time to actually kick in the way it's supposed to. Rebecca, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. But for me, it's the solidarity between the Texas governor and then you have, it's to me, they're promoting a lot of, we have our pandemic, which is the virus. And then we have our pandemic, which is the voter suppression and the systemic racism and the racism and all of that that's going on. And simply because, right? Because they decided that they, with the whole voter suppression thing, people pull out. Then you got Texas going to be saying that voter suppression is right in a sense. So we will not partner with. We're not going to partner with you guys, the MLB, and we're going to. And then our Texas state, we already exposed them to coronavirus. It's so much of this mess going on. And there are layers to this, and we have us. People of color, because I am taking it there. I'm taking it to people of color, Black folks specifically. We had the pandemic like 3 times over in ourselves, like the misinformation in the communities. A lot of these communities in the hoods or these areas that lack do not have like the information that you were saying, Ben. You were saying that there is like they're not telling them that the access to the vaccine is free. They're not letting them know because a lot of them don't have internet access in these areas. And so then they're not going into these communities and letting them know, hey, you can get it at your local such and such or however, or, you can sign up, you can give these people a call and those things. And so there's so much going on. They don't want people to get the vaccine because they want to make their point. And they also, it's a lot going on. And I hate to see it. I hate to see it.
That's the part. There are people who have a political agenda for whatever reason to not get the vaccine for themselves and to ensure that others don't get the vaccine. The data is out. It is highly effective. There are tens of millions of people who've gotten it already with minimal side effects. Most people get a sore arm. Folks, go get vaccinated. And Rebecca, to your point, I see commercials all the time about coming in to get your vaccine, but you got to read the fine print at the bottom to realize that it's free. And to be honest with you, there's so many people who are locked in just trying to survive day to day. They have not tuned into the news. They haven't tuned into these shows, to our podcast, to realize that they're free. And so estimate 7 million people in this country don't plan to get the vaccine because they did not know it was free. That's a lot of disinformation and misinformation. And that's one of the things that we have to push back on. Okay, let's we're going to take a real go ahead. Who was that?
Oh, no, that was saying nothing. Go ahead, man.
Okay, no problem.
Talk about Rebecca.
Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to do a quick update. We're going to be joined by Georgia Fort. We're going to do an update on what's happening in the Derek Chauvin trial, the murderer of George Floyd. More like it or not when we come back after this.
Shout out to Andy. Andy sent the super chat saying her first dose is at 10:45. All right, Andy. No fear. Okay, you got this.
I could really use a change of scenery. Yeah.
Shout out to everybody that's checking us out this morning, y'all. Welcome again to Like It or Not. Got a good show coming up, so make sure that y'all stay tuned.
I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you.
Justice, good morning. Mama Gwen, love you, Mama. Good morning, Sensation. Good morning.
From the inside out, so right now. Say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now. I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time.
Brenda, good morning. Good morning, Seven Sweetheart. Afraid Not, missed you too. Good morning.
Time to ride.
Purple Rain Hearts, good morning. Melanie, good morning.
Can't nobody take me here and now.
Carly Wynn, good to hear. Go ahead and get that first shot.
It's my time, it's my time, it's my time.
Alicia, good morning. Love you too.
It's your time. Oh.
Infinite Contest, shout out to you, man. Good job. Congratulations.
To the top was my destiny.
Black Dragon, what's going on?
But I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly.
Shout out to Olivia Bean, sent us a super chat. Missed y'all. We missed you too, Olivia. Nat A, good morning, ma'am. Nat M, I know you're somewhere in the building. Martha, good morning. Inside out, it's time to say it with your chest now. Say it with your chest now. I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. Was that Rebecca back there? To ride it out. It's my time. It's my time. It's like, my time to what is it? Said, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time. It's my time. It's my time to ride it out. Courtney, good morning, Courtney. If you're on the bus, say yeah, yeah. If you're on the train, say yeah, yeah. If you gotta walk, say yeah, yeah. Everybody's going somewhere, yeah. Young or old, I really don't care, yeah. Life has never really been fair, yeah. So put your fist up in the air, yeah. Say yeah. All right, y'all, welcome back to the screen. Benjamin Dixon, Rebecca, and Georgia Ford. Good morning, Georgia.
Good morning.
Hey, James, you know what? First of all, I mean, Georgia, thank you so much for joining us. But, James, I appreciate you not bringing us back until after he says, put your fist up in the air. You know that's my part, man.
Yeah, that's the part I already know.
I appreciate that, man. Solidarity. Georgia Ford, independent journalist and reporter. She has been doing extensive coverage of the Derek Chauvin trial. Georgia, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Just getting ready for another full day of testimony in court with this trial.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're because I know how that's going for you, and you're going to the courthouse and you're doing extensive coverage. We're not going to keep you long this morning. Can you give us an overview? First of all, thank you for all the coverage you did last week while we were off the air. We were able to keep our audience up to date because of the videos that you were sharing. Can you just tell us about what you've seen so far?
Yeah, so last week we heard from a lot of the bystanders who were there, who witnessed the death of George Floyd. We heard from a firefighter who was on the scene. She was not on duty at the time, a man by the name of Donald Williams, whose testimony pretty much went viral because he told the defense he was not going to allow them to paint him out to be an angry black man, that his frustration came from his humanity and simply watching Derek Chauvin keep his knee on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. We also heard from the woman who recorded the incident that we all saw. I think 50 million people have viewed the video that she recorded. And she was 17 at the time that she recorded that video. She was actually accompanied by her 9-year-old cousin who, you know how kids are. Kids will beg you, I want to go to the store. Take me to the store. Her cousin, her 9-year-old cousin had been, very persistent all day long about her 17-year-old cousin taking her to the store. She finally gave in. And it's only for that reason Darnella Frazier was there with her cell phone and able to capture what we all saw. And who knows if that video never surfaced online, if George Floyd's name would be known across this globe. And so on that day when Darnella and Judea, the 9-year-old, testified, there were actually 4 people who were underage at the time that witnessed George Floyd die, along with the 19-year-old cashier who expressed his guilt for reporting the fact that George Floyd gave him a counterfeit $20 bill. And so I think last week, Ben, to sum it up, what we saw was how many lives have truly been impacted because, they witnessed this horrific incident, and how many of them were kids, were children that are now traumatized. They're dealing with trauma for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Actually, I want to jump real quick to some of the testimony. We have some footage of the testimony from Dr. Bradford Langenfeld. He was the emergency room doctor who pronounced George Floyd dead. And in his testimony, that we'll listen to a portion of it, he made it clear that his diagnosis at that moment, the cause of death, was because of asphyxiation. Let's take a look at that.
Did you consider the possibility of toxins, for example, being responsible for Mr. Floyd's cardiac arrest, including potentially drugs?
In the sense that it might have informed our care, yes. There was, again, no report that this patient had, for example, overdosed on a specific medication such as calcium channel blocker or any other medication for which there might be a very specific antidote. And so in that sense, I didn't feel that there was a specific toxin that we could give a medication for that would readily reverse his arrest.
And what about then hypoxia?
So hypoxia being, again, one of the most common causes of PEA asystole just in general. I did then, as I'd mentioned, use the ultrasound to look in the abdomen and did not see any evidence of hemorrhage. There was no obvious significant external trauma that would have suggested that he suffered anything that could produce bleeding sufficient to lead to a cardiac arrest. And so, based on the history that was available to me, I felt that hypoxia was one of the more likely possibilities.
And hypoxia as an explanation for his cardiac arrest, meaning oxygen insufficiency.
Correct.
Georgia, what was some of the response that you saw there locally, as well as some of your thoughts about his testimony?
Well, his testimony is critical because, number one, he's a doctor. So you have the credibility, the experience, the medical background, right? And he was the officer who ultimately pronounced George Floyd dead. So he had all of the knowledge of, what led up to that moment. He had been handling George Floyd's body. And the reason why this is so important is because we know the defense, their angle is solely based on cause of death. The only defense that attorney Eric Nelson has for Derek Chauvin is to try and prove that George Floyd actually died of an overdose, medical complications, underlying health issues. And so to see this doctor get on the stand, especially locally, I think was a sigh of relief. It affirmed what many people believe, which is that George Floyd died from a knee on the neck and nothing else. And so to hear a doctor get on the stand and to affirm asphyxiation as a cause of death, to affirm that he died from lack of oxygen, these are all critical points that will hopefully land a conviction, hopefully land with a guilty verdict. And so here on the ground in community, that paired with the testimony that came after from the chief of police, people are starting to have restored faith in this process.
Restore faith is yeah. That's a big hope. I don't have a lot of restored faith, but I'm hoping that this goes. I'm sorry, Rebecca. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, you did say restored faith. A lot of people are having that now, but it's almost as if, even having this trial, and I know that you're covering it and you're right there. So you see all the emotions, and I'm pretty sure you have emotions of your own, but even standing there and just knowing, okay, the evidence is here. How many times, do we have to watch this on video, see it from another angle? And how much longer do we have to keep pushing this? And almost as if for people to try to view, make it as though, put people's anger, put the people that were at the scene, put their anger on the line, put their anger and say that's what the issue is the anger of the bystanders. Those we're putting the attention on that when it should be the anger of the police officers. You have police officers who have been on the force for God knows over 30 years. Some of them who were saying there was too much force used. There was and when we see this, it's kind of like, how much longer do we think this is going to take? How much longer do you think this is going to take, Georgia?
Well, the judge has been saying that the trial is expected to last about 4 weeks. So we have 1 week down. We're almost halfway through this week. So we're looking probably at the end of April.
Lord, I don't see. And listen, I do want to thank you for covering it, because honestly here, like I've had to cover too many of these stories and these trials, and it is traumatizing. And one, make sure that you're not overly traumatizing yourself, because like Rebecca said, we're having to see this every single day, and it's compounding insult to injury that to hear the defense attorneys make these arguments, right? It really drives my blood pressure up just to hear these bad. And I understand that Derek Chauvin is entitled to a fair trial, but I also understand that he didn't give George Floyd that luxury. I want to play one more clip, and this is from Minneapolis Police Chief Madaria Arredondo. And his testimony, I felt, was pretty compelling as well. Let's take a listen in.
As you reflect on Exhibit 17, I must ask you, is this a trained Minneapolis Police Department defensive tactics technique?
It is not.
Well, we read the departmental policy on neck restraints. Is this a neck restraint?
The conscious neck restraint by policy mentions light to moderate pressure. When I look at Exhibit 17, and when I look at the facial expression of Mr. Floyd, that does not appear in any way, shape, or form that is light to moderate pressure.
So is it your belief then that this particular form of restraint, if that's what we'll call it, in fact violates departmental policy?
I absolutely agree that violates our policy.
Are you aware now that the defendant maintained this position on George Floyd for 9 minutes and 29 seconds?
I am aware of that.
And I believe you testified that force has to be reasonable when it's applied at the beginning and through the entire encounter. Is that right?
That is correct.
Is what you see in Exhibit 17, in your opinion, within Minneapolis Police Departmental Policy 5-300, authorizing the use of reasonable force?
It is not.
And why not?
That is, it has to be objectively reasonable. We have to take into account circumstances, information, the threat to the officer, the threat to others, and the severity of that. So that is not part of our policy. That is not what we teach, and that should be condoned.
Georgia, that testimony is damning. The testimony from the attending physician is damning. The fact that he's on trial suggests that some part of the system feels that this man is guilty of murder, and I'm stating it delicately like that because for those of us who saw the videotape, it's like no kidding. But you sat through the jury selection process, and this is now ultimately going to be in their hands. Do you have any, even if the police chief and the attending physician, the ER doctor, and he's on trial, right? All those are signifiers that justice can be had in this country. What do you think about that possibility of justice when we juxtapose it to the jury selection process that you sat through?
Well, I think it's going to be very hard to predict the verdict in this case. But I will say that after the chief of police testified yesterday that Derek Chauvin broke policy, they talked about rendering aid, that he broke the policy on rendering aid because, as we saw, once George Floyd became unresponsive and bystanders pleaded with him to check the pulse, he refused. We also know that Lieutenant Zimmerman, who is the highest ranking within the Minneapolis Police Department, testified on Friday, also denouncing the actions of George Floyd, saying that it's absolutely not what we teach or how we train. And so I think that now the state, the prosecution has stacked so many cards against Derek Chauvin. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to be found innocent in this case. But it's hard to say, as I said before. And the reason why I say it's very hard to, at this moment, predict, even knowing what the jury selection was, it's hard to predict because we don't know what cards the defense defense has in their hand. We don't know who they're going to call to the stand. We're still, even though we're going into week 2, we're still at the point where the prosecution is calling all of their witnesses. So you can imagine the states predominantly calling people who are going to help them get a conviction. Well, the defense is going to call people up who they feel will help them get a not guilty verdict, right? So it's very hard to say at this time, but let's just face it. How often have you seen the chief of police get on the stand and denounce the actions of one of their former officers? And let's also think too that Chief Arredondo, being the first Black chief here in Minneapolis, he's got a lot of pressure being Black and being blue and struggling with the complexities of both of those identities. And so he acted very swiftly. He terminated Derek Chauvin not shortly after that video came out. And so we knew he was going to get on the stand and speak in favor of a conviction. And that was reaffirmed yesterday in what we heard. They had him on the stand for almost 4 hours. But the last thing, back to your point about the jury selection, the makeup, well, we know that there is a handful of folks on there who have biases and relationships with people who work for different law enforcement agencies across the state of Minnesota. 2 of them are African American, 2 of them are African immigrants, and 2 are mixed race. The rest are white. And so there is some diversity there. But when you talk about lived experience, we saw people who had been profiled by police who were not allowed to sit on this jury. And some argue that that is the best experience and background that you could have to consider a case like this, because you've actually lived through it. You know what it's like. But only 2 African Americans are on this jury, 1 man, 1 woman, who can maybe speak to what it's like to be Black in America, what it's like to be profiled, what it's like to be stereotyped. And at the end of the day, you guys, Chief Arredondo went on the stand yesterday, and he said that typically, if someone is caught with a counterfeit bill, it is not even an arrestable offense. And so when we look at the way that George Floyd was treated, and we put that side by side with the testimony of the chief of police who said, typically if we get a call for someone with counterfeit money, it's not even an arrestable offense. Wow. And so that was a hard pill to swallow. So yes, this is a very traumatizing process, especially when, they're showing footage from every angle. We've seen George Floyd die from a camera across the street, from a camera above, from the squad cam, from 3 different officers' cameras, from 4 different bystanders. So, people who are following this, they've literally seen George Floyd die like 10 times. So It definitely is traumatizing, and it's very important as we follow along, especially if we're Black and brown, that we are prioritizing our self-care.
Yeah. And you say that, and I really want you to make sure you're prioritizing your self-care. I know that you're right there in the middle of it. And you said something that was key when you said that wasn't even an arrestable offense for the $20, the counterfeit $20 bill. But we're here, right? Just looking at, the overexertion of power or of authority, of abuse of power with Chauvin. And this is why I ask, why does this have to take us into 4 weeks when that alone, that it wasn't even an arrestable offense, that alone should be it. Like you did so much when that $20 bill couldn't even get that man arrested. Right. So it sucks. It sucks that our system is drawn to really draw this out, even though no matter how many days have passed and we have seen and we have to relive it. And like you said, we have to watch this man die so many times. We have to watch the witnesses get on the stand and relive it and cry and experience this. But we're going to take this they're going to keep beating this horse and until we get to the 4 weeks. And I pray that once we get to that 4 weeks, we end up with something that we can be proud of. But
I can't even imagine, Rebecca, the kind of stuff the defense is going to pull when it's their turn. Like the way because they've high key been trying to do it already with every testimony. But the way they're going to slander this man and attack his character, even though he's the one who's dead. Georgia, what are you expecting today? I know you got to get out of here and go get the coverage going. What's on the docket for today?
So we can expect to hear, I believe, from one more person from MPD, and then they're going to start transitioning to, I believe, more medical professionals, people who can testify to that. But it's been very challenging to follow the witness list because this is a high-profile case, because the courthouse where this trial is taking place has National Guard. They have double fences with barbed wires and barricades. So they've been very strict on releasing information ahead of time. So we're kind of getting second, third wind information, which sometimes pans out. But the one thing I do want to inform you guys, I don't know if you saw the report yesterday, but because of COVID, they've limited the amount of seating in the courtroom. And yesterday, they removed the seat that was designated for Derek Chauvin's relative or friends or whoever, because it hadn't been being used. And so we're hoping to see that chair, that extra seat, go to a relative of George Floyd. Every day, only one of his relatives or loved ones is able to come into the courtroom to support the prosecution in their efforts. And they usually rotate out every day, but no one has been in the courtroom for Derek Chauvin. So yesterday, we finally saw them remove that chair.
His own family don't like his ass.
Because they know what he did.
Well, yeah, they're embarrassed. And they're embarrassed, and they're not going to pop up for him. But thank you so much, Georgia, for covering this.
And thank you for coming on and keeping us up to date on it.
Self-care, I love being on with you guys. You guys are great.
And self-care. Every time you leave that place, make sure you get that unwind. And you know, I know it's a lot. So make sure it's self-care. Yeah.
Georgia, tell everybody how they can.
Wine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Because actually, that's what I heard when she said, I didn't even hear the part. I just heard the wine part.
Wine, right.
Hey, Georgia, tell everybody how they can follow your coverage.
Absolutely. If you head over to my website, georgiafort.com, you can find all of my social links. And I'm primarily updating Facebook and Instagram, but doing some Twitter and TikTok as well.
Awesome. Georgia Fort, thank you so much for joining us. James, take us to a quick break. When we come back, we have more Like It or Not.
Good morning again, everyone. Good morning again. Like it or not, it's going down. Make sure that you hit that like button, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, so you know when Like It or Not is going down. Right now, I'm going to take the time and read off some of the name of our new patrons. Let's give them some love. New patrons to the Like It or Not on the BPD show. Well, we'll say to Like It or Not. Shout out to Thomas F., Gilbert P., Martha B., Rebecca A., no relation to Rebecca Azor, Toya S., Leslie A., Emily S., Kenya N., Kevin T., and Vanessa O. Again, shout out to all of our new patron subscribers and joining us, y'all. We greatly appreciate y'all. You too can become a patron and subscribe, y'all. You can join patreon.com/thebpd show. Again, patreon.com/thebpd show, and get your name read on there too by yours truly. DJ exclusive, y'all. Y'all stay tuned. Let's get into some of this music. Shout out to It Getter 9. It Getter 9 says, my second shot is today and full protection comes 2 weeks after that. So you know 420 is going to be my day of liberation. Shout out It Getter 9. Yes, sir. You better liberate.
Can you make it go away? Used to be so sad that love was lost, but now it's here to stay.
Lena, you silly. Why does it sound like the doors of the church are open? Yes, the doors. The doors of the church are open. Won't you come to join us today?
But now I know you're the answer to my prayer. You and me must be right. Something's in the air. I can feel it.
Shout out Chuck Diesel.
Let's do something right. We can't get enough of us. You and me.
Courtney SLP. That's right. That's the Tithes and Offering music.
You and me must do something right. Baby, I believe in us. I believe in you and me, you and me, you and me, you and me.
Lateef, shout out Lateef. What's going on?
Sorry for the burden, sorry I was hurting, but my
right.
scars are almost healed. Yeah, my scars are almost healed. Yeah, I'm feeling like a child now. Everything's alright now.
Brand C, good morning, 420. Let's go.
The flower in me bloom. Used to be afraid of everything, but now there's no fear. Yeah, I used to let nobody in and hide my face with tears. Always thought of you as someone who can love someone like me, but I was wrong, baby. Now
shout out Luke K, 82% team, man.
You and me must be right.
You come, this is that. Never mind. We'll talk later.
You and me must do something right.
Lateef, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
You and me every night, aiming for the stars with the love so bright. You and me must do something right. Baby, I believe in us. I believe in you and me.
Chuck Diesel, make sure you don't break nothing over there, sir. Shout out Goku, what's going on, sir?
Must be right, something's in the air, I can feel it now. You and me must do something right. We can't get enough of us. You and me every night, aiming for the stars with the love so bright. You and me must do something right.
Luke K, yes, sir. All right, y'all, back to Rebecca and Ben. I was trying to get to it before the song came on because this is the favorite song.
You know, this is my jam too.
This is like my jam.
This is my jam too, man. I mean, most of the time, I'll be honest with you. Like, I could honestly do a whole show now without even talking about politics, just because of the name. Because I'm not even going to lie. I was talking to my friend David Packman over at the David Packman Show, and he noticed that I was talking about my throat having issues, and I'm still having issues, but I have this ice treatment that I do. And the thing that he told me yesterday, he was like, he had the same problem, and that this is something that happens to people who do this type of work, especially when it's stressful. And the crazy thing, Rebecca, is like, and James, like, I wasn't even doing any talking when Georgia was doing most of that reporting. My throat started hurting just because, and I noticed this yesterday when I was talking about George Floyd at the top of the show yesterday. My throat started tensing up. And it's like, man, these stories are really like this stuff really causes stress in our bodies, and we don't even realize. And he was telling me that like he went and got a whole workup. He got to see his doctor and everything, and there was literally nothing wrong with him, but they were just telling him that that's where his stress is like manifested is in his throat. So anyway, I just thought about that because as soon as Georgia was done, I had to get up and go get some ice for my throat. But that's like this mess is stressful. So I'm all about the music, James. I'm all about us not even talking about politics, but I know we got work to do. So I digress. Sorry about that. Rebecca, I don't know what you got.
Yeah, stress will do that to you. It'll make you uncomfortable. It'll make you overthink. It'll make you feel sick when you're not. And it will make you feel like you've been screaming when you haven't been at all.
Yep.
That's stress in relationships, stress at the job, stress that you put on yourself. It's all kinds of stress. So eliminate stress wherever you can.
Stress in them relationships, boy. The relationships that cause you to Lose hair.
It'll cost. Now I still got my edges, praise the Lord. But yeah, stressful relationships will definitely. But moving on to the stress in Georgia. So listen, last week, a number of large corporations who are either based in Georgia or have significant presences there came out strongly against the voter suppression bill that was recently signed into law by Georgia's Republican Governor Brian Kemp. These companies include Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Delta Airlines, Major League Baseball, who pulled their all-star game from Georgia in protest that we just talked about, and so many others. Despite their strong anti-voter suppression language, many of these companies have provided campaign contributions to many of the same politicians responsible for writing this law. Hypocrites. According to a new report by Public Citizen, state legislators across the country who have pushed for new voting restrictions have received over $50 million in corporate donations in recent years. And according to a recent story by the Washington Post, in 2021, at least 250 new laws have been proposed in 43 states to limit mail, early in-person, and election day voting. Voter suppression, especially towards Black and brown folks. This tidal wave of repression represents the largest voter suppression effort since the end of Reconstruction in the 19th century, aka the beginning of Jim Crow. Racism. This is all geared towards Black folks in Georgia so that we don't have the rights, or they make it feel like we don't have the right. They take away our rights to vote in any freaking way. I don't understand how it is easy for people to go purchase a gun and do all that and making that stuff be legal, but it's illegal. They made a freaking law. It's illegal to give people water who are waiting in line to go vote. Yeah. This is Georgia.
4 and 5 hours.
Yeah. Food or water. Like, and Rebecca, here's the thing, like you were just saying, these organizations who are now saying all this stuff, Coca-Cola and all these places, they have donated, I think you said $50 million to the very people who are engaging in the voter suppression across this country, specifically in the state of Georgia. Now, here's the other thing I got an issue with this. Like, everybody is saying like, oh, we, good on the Major League Baseball. Okay, cool. And Coca-Cola and Delta CEO came out and spoke against this bill. Where were all these people when we were relentlessly, and when I say we, I'm really talking about like the organizers here in Georgia, New Georgia Project, Black Voters Matter. They were every single day pounding the pavement, trying to bring attention to this issue. It wasn't until after the legislation was signed into law by Brian Kemp that now all of a sudden these people got an issue with it. Mm-hmm. Well, you should have spoken up when there was an opportunity to actually stop it from becoming law. But instead, all of them just sat back and waited until it was already law. And now they get to grandstand and say, oh, we don't support. You actually financially supported these people, and you said nothing when we were trying to stop it from becoming law. So I got a problem. I don't really feel like we should be big up in these companies because they are literally a part of the problem.
I totally agree, because even while like people like Cliff Albright and everybody else who's been on the streets, Renetta, everyone, that have been talking about this for almost a year, when they knew that they were going to try and pull these punches. So even when that was going on, they contacted those people, those companies, and these companies still gave money, gave their donations, still backed and supported a lot of this. And they can't say they weren't told. They can't say they weren't warned. That, it's kind of like, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. But in this case, that ain't it. They definitely knew exactly what was going on, because those representatives, those people who have been fighting, those activists, have been bringing it to their attention. And what did they do? They still supported that. And they waited until it started to blow up. They waited until people started to push back on them. And now they're like, oh, we never supported that. But there are receipts that show that. And this is what they have to understand. A lot of these companies don't. They think it's like back in the day where they can get away with secretly supporting these companies and staying quiet or acting like the commercial with Kendall and her giving her giving the cops a Pepsi and acting like that cured all of what was happening in the world during a damn panoramic. Like, this helped me understand that how this is going to work. You know what I mean? Like these commercials that they try to do. We know that this ain't gonna work. Now we're here. Now we have so much more of a voice, and we are going. And then now we have footage of the people that y'all supporting dragging folks out for knocking on the door, and the black woman at that who has a seat in this. This is what I'm saying, right? We need to make sure that we're calling out Coca-Cola. We're calling out. It doesn't matter where in Georgia, and then the people, the other state leaders that are supporting this. And turning around to say they don't. It's all just trash. They all try to, like back in the day, it used to be so easy for them to come back and say things like how George W. Bush, the first, I guess, the second, I don't know what number he is, but George Bush, the original president, the first one, him saying that he didn't say the thing about the economics.
Oh, yeah, the voodoo economics, yeah.
They're turning around and going on to, then turning around and going on to onto the news in an interview and saying that he never said that, and no one can find any history of him saying that when it's on video. These are the same people that are in the Coca-Cola business. These are the same people that are in the other business that are supporting the voter suppression. And it doesn't matter how they word it. You have supported and funded. You have given these people more, like, you have amplified the cause for voter suppression. You guys have done that. You companies have done that by funding it. So
they act like the reason they don't care about what you just said, Rebecca. They know that we know that they're full of crap. Don't know when the last time I ever used the word crap, but I'm trying to not.
Right.
They know we know. They know we got the receipts. They know full damn well that we understand how much money they've donated, and we understand the game that they're playing. They waited until now because they actually did not want to get on the bad side because they need those Republican politicians. They know that. They know we got the receipts. They know we got the footage, just like we knew George H.W. was lying through his teeth on that example that you gave us, right? They don't care. The reason they don't care is because they got enough money to do a mass media marketing PR campaign to try to salvage their image. And that's what they're counting on. They are literally counting on being able to play both sides on this issue. That's what they've been able to do in the past. And they got enough money, they believe, to do it now. And they believe, and I don't know that they're necessarily wrong, right? It sucks. They're full of crap. But I don't know that they're necessarily wrong because all it's going to take is a couple of months for this to go away. And the activists and the organizers are still going to be working. They're still going to be trying to overcome it. But Coca-Cola is going to be sitting back, counting their money and counting all of their political capital that they got because they didn't take a stand on this. So I think that they know full well what they're doing. They're just thinking that they could play this out because they got enough money to play it out in the long run. So. Exactly.
And money over everything. Give me a little bit of money. I ain't gonna do like the old girl that don't do her hair that went over to the right side. But money does talk. They'll do whatever Candace.
I had to think for a second, like, who is she talking about?
Candace. I didn't want to say her name. But yes, they'll do whatever. And let me tell you something. When you living right, and when I mean living right in money, because living right like we do don't pay. But when you living right like these folks, it doesn't matter. They literally don't care. They'll lie to your face and be like, I can pay for that lie tomorrow. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah.
So
they can pay for that lie tomorrow. God,
exactly.
That's actually
some more BS. Bull crap, right, Ben? Before we get out of here.
the crap is anyway.
Bull crap. There we go. I think that was that McConnell right there, because we're gonna definitely get into McConnell. Speaking in Kentucky, Senator Mitch McConnell said Monday it's simply not accurate to say that the Georgia law is making it more difficult to vote. Mitch McConnell says it's a big lie to call the new voting law in Georgia racist, and he warned big business to stay out of politics after major corporations and even Major League Baseball distanced themselves from the state amid vast public pressure. Wait, this is what I'm talking about. This, turkey neck man out here.
I'm about to choke on this.
He's out here. Turtle, right? And, he's out here. Look, Franklin. Like, he's saying these things and it don't even make sense. How is it designed? Definitely not to make it more difficult to vote. Are you kidding me? The simplest things like taking away or moving the ballot boxes, right? Moving those away from places that people can have access to them. Is that making it easier? Not feeding or giving people water. And y'all know around these times, either it's too cold or too hot or whenever it comes to vote.
This is just simply not accurate. This is a big lie, Rebecca. Stop lying.
Exactly. And that's but exactly that is enough. That alone is enough for him to say. That alone is enough for him to say, or for people to believe what he's saying. And this is why we have to keep fighting it. Because if we sit down and we act like we don't hear it, we don't see it, we don't challenge these companies to be fake, right? Then it's never going to get attention. Yeah. That woman got dragged because she knew that she just wanted to witness these white men taking away more rights for Black people. Let me look at you in your face, Satan, so you can know that I see you. And I'm going to still be pushing and I'm going to still be working to make sure that I fight this for generations while I'm living, because I'm not going to sit here and allow this to keep going down. So no matter how they try to twist it and turn it and make it seem as if this is good and it's not more difficult, it ain't more difficult for people who look like you, white man. It's not more difficult for people who have money, Republican. It's not more difficult, right, for you guys to just partner with nobodies, go into these suburban areas, wave a flag, have Trump's name on it, and that be a vote. People who have access to wherever they want to go, any time of the day. This is not difficult for them. This is difficult for Black people, for people who lack, people who can't get to them ballot boxes, for people who don't have internet access, for people who will go and during their lunchtime to go and vote and be hungry as hell. You guys are making this difficult as hell for Black people.
Oh man.
And we're going to keep calling a thing, people. I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, no, definitely not doing it. We're not doing it.
You mentioned Representative Park Cannon. That's the sister you represent. You were saying when she went to just go witness this
Park Cannon.
They drug her out, but this is the game. This is the game, and all the different facets of the game is what's so infuriating. Mitch McConnell is playing his part. Coca-Cola is playing their part. Some of these organizations that raised all kind of money and came to, got rich off of the special election here in Georgia. Remember all that money that came here, all these Democratic organizations that came here, they were nowhere to be seen when it was time to block this legislation. So they're playing their part. And at the end of the day, it's going to be the voters who are stuck in line for 5 or 6 hours. And this time they're stuck in line with no food. They're stuck in line with no water. They're stuck in line because of the game that's being played. Because for once in this country, we saw just how damn powerful the Black vote was, particularly in this state. And then they just lost their goddamn minds. They lost their Jim Crow minds. They lost their Klansman mind. Like they were like, we can never allow this to happen ever again. And now everybody's just doing their part. Coca-Cola's doing their part. We're not going to take our boot off their necks just because they're out here signifying. All that signifying.
Ain't nothing special about that sugary ass nothingness. Y'all need to stop drinking
Don't
it
do
anyway.
Coke like that. I mean,
it's trash.
It's good.
Wait, Bubba, you like Coca-Cola?
Orange vanilla Coke, cherry vanilla Coke.
Dog, you know what?
Wait, where is Dr. Pepper? Is Dr. Pepper a Pepsi brand or is that?
Dr. Pepper's a Coca-Cola brand.
It's actually
I stopped drinking Dr. Pepper anyway.
Dr. Pepper actually, it's his own. They're distributed through Coke and Pepsi. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I used to work for Coca-Cola, and he's dropping gems. He knows this. Look, y'all sleep on Bubba, but Bubba knows his shit. But
Bubba slid in there and said, no, Ben. The governor didn't throw the pitch out. He boycotted. I was like,
he said, he had to get you right.
How about that? Tighten me up, James. Go ahead, Rebecca.
He had to get you right.
I see a little bit.
No, because you know stuff. Don't play yourself. Don't let people play you. But yes, no, I used to work for Coca-Cola and it was miserable. I felt like I was working for racists, not knowing that I was.
You've worked everywhere.
I've had to fund myself to get my master's degree. Let me tell you something.
No, but you worked at like you worked at like actual, like I've worked at a lot of places, but not like name brands. You work for like name brand companies. I worked for like companies nobody ever heard of.
Oh yeah,
I'm the off-brand stuff.
Yeah, I had to,
like this third-party reject companies is we work for.
but don't act like even working for those companies you got paid something. They were paying me like nothing, not a damn thing to really be there and know all the damn brands of Coke. Let me tell you something. They have so many products there, and now that I don't work there, I can say whatever I want. They got so many products there that they will not let y'all know what they have inside of some of these things. You know what they call them? Natural flavors. These natural flavors, they will not tell you what they are, and they won't tell you where they come from. And they'll tell you they're FDA approved when there's just language that you have to tell people that this is FDA approved in a certain type of way. Also, they had some of their products that pregnant people weren't supposed to drink. They had some of their products. Yeah, a lot of the stuff. And then when people would call in and just ask about it, there would literally be something there saying, don't say this, say this. I'm killing people. I am killing.
Wait, I didn't know. People. I did not know they had products that pregnant people could not drink.
There's a lot of. Well, they say that some of these things may lead to issues with in this and that and that. And when people call in to ask about it, they're like, don't say it. Or some of these products, they'll be like, even though it may have mold in it, it's safe to drink.
Mold. You know what's a natural product? A natural flavors. And I hate to do this to anybody who likes Starbucks, but you know the strawberry frappuccino things they have? They get their natural colors, and the natural, not the flavor, but the natural color comes from like this red bug that they have approved that they use as a coloring tool inside of the strawberry frappuccino.
Stuff like that. And that is natural flavors that they do not want to.
But it is natural.
It doesn't matter. But some people.
But I would like to know that I'm drinking bugs.
But some people like, I need to know that I'm eating. If I'm drinking or eating poop, I need to know that. Yeah, I do, because
a certain level of fecal matter that's in every Coca-Cola has everything.
Right, I need to know. Or are there really strains of Coke, still in Coca-Cola? Like, let us know if what we're giving our kids is safe. Because I had a third grade teacher who downed. She wasn't, and no offense, not fat shaming, but she wasn't nothing skinny. She was a white lady that wore glasses, and she downed Diet Coke. 3 bottles a day, at least for the shift that she was our teacher. And she would down it like nobody's business. Diet Coke. What the hell was in that damn product? Okay.
Oh, all kinds of stuff.
When I was in third grade. She would literally just be taking it. And I'm like, why is she like this is her high today. Literally, like, I don't get it.
That's why that aspartame. What is it? It's something that was in Diet Coke around that time.
So let's talk about that as
was
well.
Addictive.
Give you them
let's talk about that as well. They had products where they were using. I had to make a pitch one time in a meeting at Coca-Cola, and they had
really out there doing it, Ben.
Where they so they had started using the sativa leaf to give it that natural flavor. So for some people they were allergic to corn syrup. Right. Some people were allergic to corn syrup. But they wouldn't tell them that they were no longer using sugar or sugar cane because it was too expensive. So they would say it is the equivalent to, and a lot of people don't understand that. So they're just saying it's sugar, it's still sugar, but to make it cheaper for them to, to pay for it. And then I started researching. I'm like, a lot of this, corn syrup and stuff is being made out in like these farms where they're paying those people nothing either.
Yeah. Well, guys, ladies, gentlemen, non-gender conforming individuals. That's about our time. James, is that hang on, let me click on something. Is there any super chats we have left that we want to read?
Yes, I do. What you got? Clean Team of NY says, I support my YouTube families, black and white, rich and poor. Great show and thanks. And then we also have one from Cherie Moore. She says, thank you for keeping us updated on these important issues. So shout out to both of y'all for those super chats. Greatly appreciate that.
So, folks, we are getting ready to roll right on over into the after party. And so you could become a part of the after party by becoming a patron, patreon.com/the BPD show. The links are already up. Some of the people are already watching. You can watch the entire show in our VIP room, so to speak, and the show continues right after that. So if you want to get access to it, and then again, James, thank you for bringing back the patron party. Can y'all give it up for James setting it off with the patron party? Every person who becomes a patron, we're going to give you a shout out live on air. Thank you all so much for the support. We are in stability mode. We are here for the long run. The number one thing that we can offer to everything is the consistency. I've been here for 6 years, and I expect this crew that's on the screen and behind the scenes, we're going to be here even longer, and we're going to help it grow, and you're going to help us do it by going to patreon.com/the BPD show. So if you are a patron or a Twitch subscriber, unfortunately, Twitch was down today. I think there's some technical issues with Twitch. Sorry about that. But if you are a Twitch subscriber or a patron, stay tuned. More likely or not, after this, everybody else, we'll see you next time.
And look, wait.
Oh, my bad. Wait. I messed up. Go ahead, Rebecca.
You've been doing that today. I too am here. But for everybody who's going to be looking for the link, it will be posted in the comment section. I know that you guys were asking, and you guys are asking now. It'll be posted in the comment section. And for those of you who did give your funds today, you definitely are invited to come hang out with us as well today.
Anybody who gave a super chat, for sure.
Yes, So we got you. We got all of you guys. Now, Bubba.
Wait, no.
Okay.
I'm joking. No, I'm not joking. Super chats. Email our producer, David. If you gave a super chat, anybody who gives super chat, you are automatically invited to, and our moderators, our moderators do a lot of hard work in there. So moderators, email David, and we'll get you the link. Now, Rebecca, do I have permission to turn it over to Bubba so we can get to the after party?
Not before I tell the folks who won't be joining us that I love you guys. I mean it. Make sure you become a patron so you can come party with us in the background or after this really hour. Fun. I love you guys. It's really fun back there. It's really fun.
It's live.
Fun. It's like, I hate for y'all to look from outside of the club. We want y'all to get in. So please come join us. We want y'all there. We really do.
I'm going to get some ice. I'll see y'all at the party.
Crazy lovers. You love me and I love you. Why can't we just match the two? Why we get so mean? Light the match on kerosene. We're fire. Baby, we're fire.
All right, y'all. Shout out to everybody. Make sure that you keep it locked. Make sure that you stay tuned. Hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe, so you know when Like It or Not is going down, y'all. Of course, we will see y'all tomorrow on the regular time show. But right now, we're about to switch over to the after party. So if you are a Patreon subscriber or if you donated a super chat today, you will have access to that. Make sure that you email David so he knows to send you that link for the email and get you in the Patreon party, y'all.